Hi there, I'm Jules. Nice to see you again. The word of the day today is lawnmower. Everyone knows what a lawnmower is. If you'd like to know why lawnmower is the word of the day, watch some of my other videos and find out. Let's hang out. Today we're playing the testimony of Trixie Glimmer Smith. This is a sequel to Parsnip, which I played yesterday, or the day before. One of those days I played it. This is the sequel. I couldn't remember what the T stood for because I keep seeing it abbreviated as TTOTGS. So I thought it was the tale of Trixie Glimmer Smith. It's the testimony. Are we in court? I don't know. Let's find out. I really enjoyed Parsnip though. So if that's anything like this, I'm gonna like it. I'm gonna like it. My name is Trixie Glimmer Smith. I'm a first-year student studying regional history and culture studies here at Bluebell University. Events in the past week have led me to falling behind in my coursework. This is my extenuating circumstances statement of case. I hope it is sufficient to explain why I need more time to finish my coursework. Thanks in advance for reading. Thanks. It all started last week. At about 10 in the morning, I dragged myself out of bed and gotten dressed. Oh. Right, it's 2 weeks till my coursework deadline. Time to start this report on Blue Hill County Cultural Exports, 1800 to 1900. I sat and stared at the brief for about 10 minutes. Okay, no more slacking. It's time to get to work. I noticed I just clicked onto a 2-hour video essay about memes on video.com. Video.com. Before I had any more time to be distracted, there was a loud knock at my door. I jumped, knocking my cereal over. Milk and chocolate-covered sugar flakes split across my generic student accommodation carpet. Someone outside yelled, "Trixie Glimmer Smith! Open up! We have something to discuss!" I recognized the voice. It was Nikita, my course's top student. We didn't talk often because she's kind of horrible. I slammed the spacebar and quickly opened up a website about sheep. It wasn't really relevant to my work, but I hoped it might look educational enough to make Nikita judge me slightly less. Nikita scared the crap out of me, and I didn't want to keep her waiting, so I ignored the puddle of chocolate milk seeping into my carpet and opened the door. Nikita immediately marched straight into my room without asking, and I ended up backed into my desk. Right, Trixie, you have to do me a favor. Her eyes briefly glanced at the cereal puddle, but quickly locked back onto me like the lasers of a sniper rifle trained on my skull. I instinctively sat back down in my chair and looked up at Nikita. I probably looked pretty subby. It would almost be kind of hot if I wasn't a fucking loser. Hi, Nikita. Look, Trixie. If I hadn't bailed you out last term by doing your coursework for you, you'd be fucking dead, right? I mean, you'd be living in a bush and eating dirt because you don't want to go home to your family and admit you fucked up your education by sleeping through an entire term. I mean, that's a little harsh. I'd also been playing video games, writing raunchy fanfiction, and growing breasts. It would be nice to get some recognition for that for once. I know it was. But listen, my point is, you owe me big time for literally saving your life. You didn't literally save my life, what the fuck? Whatever. Look, I just want you to find me a play script. It's easy. Oh, is that all? I mean, sure, I can do that. I guess you did help me a lot, right? Sorry, it's just, you were being really aggressive, so I assumed you were going to make me kill someone or something. Tabby, maybe. You hate her. Miss Knight is a try-hard bitch wasting everyone's time by running against me for student president, but I don't need her dead. I need to keep her around to make me look good. Tabby keeps psycher crystals in her bra to prevent lunar interference. Which I'm pretty sure isn't even a word. That's a pretty low standard to make you look good. I felt pretty bad saying that. Tabby was really nice, even if she was a little quirky and didn't really notice me. That said, interference definitely isn't a word. I'm not very likable, so I need all the help I can get. Anyway, shut up. Your laptop is playing a video called Sheep Falling Over Compilation 6, while your coursework paper is titled, and I quote, starred soon. I don't know why I can't say coursework. I keep saying curse work. Your coursework. So are you going to help me, or am I just going to have to never bail you out of one of your fuck-ups again? I glanced at my laptop. EpicSheepFalls.com wasn't as educational as I thought. Fine, what do you want exactly? More specific than just a play script. Last night, I was walking back from the library when I noticed some paper fluttering about. I don't usually make a point of picking stuff up off the floor, but something drew me to it. I picked it up and realized it contained writing. I read it right there in the courtyard. When I finished reading it, I stood in silence for some time. I'd read an excerpt from The King in Yellow. Okay, wait. The little eye on the side of the house at the end of Parsnip that I read, I'm pretty sure it was talking about The King in Yellow. I don't know how it got there, but I'm certain if that page was there, then the rest must be nearby. A surviving copy of the infamous cursed play. Do you realize how important that is? I'd heard rumors of The King in Yellow and of the ghastly writings within. I very much doubted Nikita had found a page lying around at university. Copies were meant to be impossible to get hold of, supposedly all lost, hidden, or burnt long ago. I always assumed that play was kind of a myth. Are you sure it was legit? Maybe you just found part of someone's fanfiction? Nikita slammed her fist onto my desk with a bang. I know it's real. Sorry. It's okay, you're probably right. Only a real loser would write fanfiction about The King in Yellow. The completed play would be of immeasurable importance to my studies. I could write my entire thesis analyzing how it has affected folklore both locally and worldwide. I need the full copy. Now, after the initial shock of finding it set in, I started sneezing. I concluded there must be some kind of allergen on the paper. I happen to be allergic to exactly one thing in the world. Not being a bitch. Shut the fuck up. I'm allergic to daffodils. Daffodil Lane is a few miles from here. I happen to know that the lane has a lot of daffodils, hence the shitty name. Given their relative rarity elsewhere in the county, I believe the page may have originated there. I'd rather avoid going there myself. I'm too important to get mildly uncomfortable. Besides, I'm busy brainstorming slogans for my student union presidency campaign. Right now, I'm thinking knowledge through unity, unity through Nikita. Oh, geez. Whatever. As a thank you for me saving your life, you're kindly going to Daffodil Lane and finding the rest of that play for me. Good? Thanks. I still wasn't convinced there would be anything to find, but I kind of wanted Nikita to leave my room before she noticed I'd left some of my underwear on the floor. I mean, I hadn't agreed yet, but fine, I'll go. Just stop being so rude to me. It's not a good work relationship. Fantastic. Thank you for being so accommodating, Trixie. I'll let you get on with it. I have some books to read. Nikita brushed some dust off of her shirt and left without a goodbye. According to my laptop, it was still pretty early. I guess I should get going. I may as well get this over with so Nikita stops bothering me. I found some snacks. I knew I would need them on my quest? Errand? Whatever the crap this was. A 20-pack of cheese ropes. I fucking love artificial flavorings. I found my phone under an old shirt. Not that it came in much use. It can basically only take calls and receive messages after years of wear and tear. My phone's light flickers unless you constantly shake it like a maraca, so I brought along a torch as well. Yeah, British. A flashlight. A torch seemed like one of those things it was good to have when you're looking for things. To my American brain, a torch is like a big stick that has like fire on the top that you use if you're Indiana Jones in a cave. Not a flashlight. In retrospect, I should have made sure it had batteries in it before I left. I crammed everything into my bat bag. A lot of people accuse me of having a bat fetish because of all my bat products, but it's not true. I just like that bat cartoon Cyber Draculias from space from a few years ago, but there's no official merchandise for it, and those bats were really cute. Anyway, I got distracted by my laptop for a while. Well, like 3 hours, but I got a lot of work done. Kinda. The 2-hour trek through the countryside during the worst heat wave in a century took its toll on me. I'd never been good with summer. I usually just hide inside, so I'd underestimated how hard it would be out in the sun. It was also about here I realized I never cleaned up the cereal on my floor. I did eventually reach Daffodil Lane. I took a little rest in some shade and got my bearings. Phew. I hope the weather gets worse soon. I could use some rain to cool me off. I took a look down the lane from my vantage point. 4 quaint little cottages dotted the dirt road, and at the far end was the tree line of Blue Hill Woods. I'd been in the woods once before as part of my course. They were old and filled with interesting landmarks. I considered taking a walk in them once I sorted out the play stuff. It was probably cooler under the trees. Parsnip! Hi! Ah! A small, rather eccentric-looking rabbit had appeared behind me while I was distracted. Before I could say anything, he held out a weird yellow string. Since we're such great friends, I made you a friendship string! The friendship string was about 6 inches of tattered yarn, seemingly dipped in yellow acrylic paint and sprinkled with what appeared to be sugar. It was faintly disturbing on a level I can't communicate, even after everything else that had transpired in the following days. I added sugar so you can taste it if you get hungry. I hope you like it, best friend. He seemed proud of himself. I kept it. That's mean. Confused, I took the string out of the rabbit's paw and held it up for a closer look. It looked just as bad up close. I shivered. Something about the string and its strange creator felt deeply wrong. I shook my head slightly. I was being silly. The string was harmless. I tucked the string away into my bag. Thanks? Hi, I'm Parsnip, and that's my cottage. He jabbed a paw at the nearest cottage, the one with a well-kept daffodil patch in front of it. A small sign with "My Cottage" written on it stood on the path next to it, clearly marking the cottage as someone's cottage. Oh, hi Parsnip. My name's Trixie. I'm looking for a book that might be around here. Have you heard of The King in Yellow? Wow, I love yellow. Oh wow, it's my favorite color. Oh, okay. Well, it's good that you like yellow. The book, though, do you know it? I don't read books. They are so boring. I'm Parsnip, and I'm a fun bun. Want to come play with me? Let's distract him. This was getting too weird. I wanted out. Wow, look at that. I pointed into the distance. Parsnip just stared at me. I'd much rather look at you, new friend. Oh, okay. Well, I can't come play with you right now because, I have to find the book for my friend, remember? Wow, that sounds really exciting. You're like a detective. Oh, I mean, it's more an in-debt servitude thing. I don't really care for... Wow, cool. That's amazing. Before I could begin to formulate a response to Parsnip, the sound of a cuckoo clock blared from inside his cottage. It was loud, even from a good 50 foot away. Uh-oh, it's time for trumpet practice! Is that why there's a really annoying trumpet in my ear? I'll talk to you later, new friend. He merrily skipped off to his cottage. Okay, bye? I crossed Parsnip off of my list of potential owners of a forbidden play. He didn't seem like someone who would own anything that required reading. I started to walk down the lane, past the out-of-tune trumpeting blasting from Parsnip's cottage. I'm not convinced he even had the trumpet the right way around. I figured I'd try the next cottage. It didn't look as well kept as Parsnip's, but I could see some art easels set up in the garden, which piqued my interest. An arty person might have a copy of an evil play just to make a statement. Okay, but at the end of Parsnip, I killed everyone. So... Hey, cool, an artist. I can relate to them. I drew a picture once. I approached the cottage and caught sight of a rabbit lounging in a deck chair, smoking and drinking wine. Classy. She was tall, stylish, and pretty. I was pretty hyped to meet what I assumed must be a famous artist. Either she didn't see me or chose to ignore me. I noticed her cigarette wasn't even lit. Hey, hi. I waved nervously. I wasn't used to talking to professional artists who were probably rich. She tilted her sunglasses down slightly to look at me before pushing them back up. Hello? I trailed off. My head felt light from the heat. I swayed side to side, starting to regret not bringing a drink. Sorry, I don't have any water with me, so I'm a little out of it. Anyway, I just walked down from university and, Wait, you walked all the way here from the university? Without any water? In this heat? Oh, I remember letting out a quiet yes and collapsing, but not much else until I woke up a few minutes later. The rabbit's face was looking down at me from her deck chair. She looked mildly concerned, but apparently not enough to move me from being face down in the dirt. You fainted. Are you okay? I think so. Could I maybe have some water? I brought some out for you already. She motioned towards a glass of wine on the ground beside me. That's wine. The rabbit went wide-eyed under her glasses. Oh, so it is. How did that get there? She picked up the wine and shuffled shamefully into her cottage, returning a few moments later with some tap water. Thanks. I downed the water and felt a little better. It was pretty stupid of me to not bring any with me. I realized I hadn't introduced myself and thought I'd better do it before it became too awkward. Hi. Hello. I didn't do a great job of it. I'm Trixie. Rose. There was a frosty silence. So, sorry to bother you. It's just I'm doing someone a favor. They think there's a copy of some old playbook around here. The King in Yellow. I can't say I've heard of it. Are you sure your friend didn't say Daffodil Library? You know, the one in town? I briefly worried she had. No, I'm pretty certain she said Daffodil Lane. I don't know where it could be, though. I asked, Parsnip? Next door. Rose seemed to grimace at the mention of Parsnip. You spoke to Parsnip? Are you sure? You look like you still have the will to live. I didn't, but that was unrelated. I mean, yeah, a bit. Is he that bad? I mean, he's a little excitable for sure, but Rose's blood pressure looked like it was rising rapidly. I'm gonna ask about Parsnip. What's the issue with Parsnip? He isn't like that all the time, right? He moved in like a month ago, and there hasn't been a day since that I haven't considered torching his cottage. He moved in like a month ago, and there hasn't been a day since that I haven't considered torching his cottage. She downed half a bottle of wine in about 5 seconds. I was impressed. He seems to know the exact best way to piss me off in any given situation. And I mean, he broke into my house a few weeks back while I was in the shower. All he did was steal some candles, but geez. He's a real weirdo. I don't believe in police, though, so if he tries that shit again, I'll just get my old cricket bat out and launch him into the woods like a ball. She finished her wine and reached for another bottle. So yeah, I fucking hate Parsnip. The burglary definitely put a bit of a damper on my opinion of Parsnip. Still, I hoped maybe Rose was exaggerating. He didn't seem quite that bad when I'd spoken to him. Wow, that's weird. Anyway, sorry, the book. You haven't seen it? She shook her head. I don't get out much, though. If it's around here, I probably wouldn't see it. I didn't even realize my neighbors were missing until the police came knocking. Oh, geez, the squirrels. Yeah. Didn't it turn out they just went on a cruise to the Pacific Islands because they're rich and got bored? It was on the news for ages. No. I accidentally started the rumor that they just ran off to go on a cruise during the school term. Probably true. They were rich. Rich people do that stuff, right? I don't think she was expecting an answer. Look, I was brainstorming, okay? It's not my fault the police just took that as a fact and ended the investigation immediately. I'm sure they're all fine. The police just dumped all the evidence they collected outside and left. ACAM, right? All cops are... mice? Is Trixie a mouse? Or a bat? Or something? All cops are monsters? Oh, ACAM. All cops are messy. Point is, you could go poke around in the boxes if you want. They won't care. Maybe you'll find her book. Huh, yeah, maybe. Is there anywhere else around here an old playbook might be hiding? There's the woods. They're pretty big. There's bound to be at least one book in there. She faked a big blow of smoke from her cigarette. Though I'd avoid them if I were you. They're dark, nasty, and no one lives there anyway. Well, I mean, there's a beehive, but they're a bunch of authoritarian jackasses, so they don't really count. I tried to go paint there once, and they got pissy with me. The swarm of fake socialist mini-dictators. There's not a whole lot on the road either, besides a sheep field and some fucked up magpie. No, this place is kind of boring. That's why I moved here, to get some space. It didn't work. Cyberbat Wildstar always used to say, "Space is where you make it." Right. Does that actually mean anything, or, no, not really. It's from some cartoon. So wait, where did you used to live? Before you moved out here, I mean? Town. I teach there. Oh, you're one of the art history lecturers at the university. Do you teach the Blue Hill art history classes in second year of regional history and culture studies? I do that course. I'm sure I might have seen you around. I teach preschoolers how to use glitter pens. Oops. Anger seemed to burn under her surface. I was worried her wine bottle would shatter in her vice-like grip. They don't appreciate my art. I decided to run away before I said anything else stupid. Well, anyway, sorry to bother you. I'll go take a look at those evidence boxes. Thanks for your help. Good luck with... I glanced towards Parsnip's cottage. Discordant trumpet noises were still piping out of it. LaRose nodded. She seemed to know what I meant. She went straight back to staring off into the distance. I let her get on with it and headed over to the neighboring cottage. LaRose was right. The police had left their investigation unfinished and just ditched the evidence into a couple of boxes. Fortunately, the summer had been a dry one and everything seemed to be in good condition. I peered through one of the cottage windows. It was definitely deserted. It was probably a pretty nice place when it was looked after. I could see the occasional bit of half-eaten food laying around on the floor, making a mess of the otherwise cozy middle-class countryside retreat. I started sorting through the box labeled Kitchen 1. Most of it seemed to be old bits of snack packaging and half-eaten food. Gross. Fortunately, most of it was so artificial it wasn't even capable of molding. Interestingly, a DVD copy of Jenny Jason's archery training Time for the Game Machine 100 had also a large bite taken out of it, and the toaster seemed to have lick marks on the grill. An entire box of sugar acorns seemed to have been emptied into the box, coating everything with a thin layer of nutritionless dust. Someone had been very hungry. The next box, Kitchen 2, only had a couple of gas canisters inside. I guess they were for the cottage's stove. I didn't think Daffodil Lane has much in the way of actual infrastructure. The last box, labeled Kids Room, contained the only real interesting stuff. My eyes went straight toward a small games console and a selection of video games. I spotted one of my favorites, Gun Attack 2. Oh hey, this kid is one of those little fuckers who always screamed abuse at you when I tried to play that online. Okay, so in my playthrough of Parsnip, I gave the cake to everyone, and everyone died. Except Squirrel Girl got out, because she did not get the cake, and I killed the creature that was keeping her hostage. So I guess that's not the canon ending, because everyone, they're acting like they're all gone, missing. So in this, Parsnip did not give the cake to anyone else, it seems. I don't know. Actually, I probably shouldn't refer to a possibly missing kid as a little fucker. That feels a little wrong. There were more sweet wrappers, though the kid had clearly diversified their diet by eating crisps on special occasion. Chips. This kid doesn't seem the type to collect old play scripts. I doubt it would be in here. In fact, I don't think there's a single word in this box that isn't a brand name. As I said this, I realized I was wrong. There were some very obvious words in the box, and I don't know how I missed them before. On a small paper booklet, scrawled in faded felt-tip writing read, "There is a monster near the woods." Underneath was a crude scribble, vaguely resembling a crouching figure with a woolly thick body and 4 eyes. Some kind of imaginary monster. Or maybe a wool suitor, I thought. Oh shit, that's ominous. The handwriting was childlike and shaky. It couldn't have been more than a month old. It was probably written as part of some silly game, I thought, but that didn't stop it from filling me with dread. What was the monster? I realized the message was written on the front of a small scrap paper booklet. It looked like it had been written and illustrated by the kid. Squirrel Warrior Princess Adventure. Squirrel Warrior Princess was on an adventure to save the Squirrel Princess Dragon. She went through the hills, and there was a monster shaped like a woolly person. Squirrel warrior princess shot him with bows and arrows and won. This reads like the kids that I tutor, how they read. That is what you get if you are my enemy, said Squirrel warrior princess, said Squirrel. She drove her car, big car, fast and reached Castle Grimskull. I'm here to save you, Squirrel Princess Dragon, said Squirrel warrior princess. She went through the castle and used her gun to shoot the bad enemies, and she went up the castle. No one can defeat me. I am the strongest warrior, I said. A skeleton popped out, but Squirrel warrior princess punched it and it fell down and cried, and I laughed at it. That was really brave. Thank you for saving me, said Squirrel Princess Dragon. She flapper her dragon wings. She has dragon wings and can breath fire, but she's a squirrel. They played video games together, and one single player of Medallion of Honor, the end. Inspiring. I decided it was best to leave before I left much more incriminating DNA on everything. I felt pretty sure I wasn't going to find the play in amongst that junk, and I wasn't breaking into what was technically still a crime scene on Nikita's behalf, so I headed down the lane to the last cottage. I strolled past the sheep field. The silly creatures were absent-mindedly chewing on grass, as sheep are apt to do. It looked like a refreshingly simple life. Oh my god. The field was overshadowed by a large tree. There seemed to be a few shiny pieces of jewelry trapped high up in its branches. Maybe it was one of Le Rose's art pieces? A ragged nest was perched high up near the top. It looked deserted. This was probably where that fucked up bird Le Rose had mentioned lived. I don't like that music. The cottage at the end of Daffodil Lane was a bleak building. I guess it's not music, but scary sound. The windows and doors were all boarded up. Its interior was dark, and the entire building had an uneasy aura around it. Compared to its scenic surroundings, this place was a septic sore. Scenic surroundings, septic sore. I remembered the child's creepy message. If there was anywhere near the woods a monster would live, it was here. I was almost relieved to realize I had no way of getting the boarded-up door open. Oh no, there's no way I can get into this cottage. I'm so weak and brittle. I felt a little cowardly, so went out of my way to half-heartedly tug at one of the planks. Fortunately, I'd never been strong, and estrogen has further reduced my ability to pull planks off of things. Well, that was conclusive. I can't possibly get these off with my weak little arms. I almost used this as an excuse to get out of doing Nikita's busy work, but without her help, I knew I'd fail my coursework. I wasn't going to go home a failure. I will forever regret not taking the excuse. I should get a crowbar or something. I think that's how people get planks off of things in, like, games and stuff. I'll head to town. I'm sure I can find some boring old person shop that sells tools there. I can't read. I dusted off my hands and started my hike back to town, somewhat regretting never learning to ride a bike. The monster near the woods would have to wait. It's interesting that Parsnip was a point-and-click adventure, and this is a visual novel. So, interesting. It was a long walk back to town. Still, the exercise was probably good for me. I hadn't spent much time in town since moving to Blue Hills. It's too loud and busy for me. I'm pretty sure people stare at me too. Though that might just be me being paranoid or my anxiety talking. I don't know. Relatable. I was looking for a tool shop or something when I noticed a small shop called Heidi's. In the window was a big poster. All crowbars, half price! That was convenient for sure. Oh. The shop seemed empty. Hello? Is anyone here? Nothing. There was a door behind the counter, slightly ajar. I guess it led to an office or something. Maybe the owner is in there? I'll look around the shop. I guess I'll just wait a while. I looked around the shop. It seemed to sell everything. Magazines, tools, sweets. The pricing on everything seemed to be almost random. I had no idea how Heidi was running the shop this way. I took a look at the vending machine in the corner. It didn't have a window, so I had no idea what was in stock. I gave it a tap. Yeah, but there's black feathers. Squawk! Ah! Before I could think too hard about what had happened, I noticed a cute Cyber Draculias from Space plushie. The only bit of official merchandise ever produced for the show. They'd been taken off market because they contained lead, but it looked like Heidi hadn't gotten the memo. Hey, don't break that! I dropped the plushie back onto its shelf. A hyena had stepped through the door to the back room. Either her spots were dyed red or she was splattered in blood. I assume this must have been Heidi. Sorry, aren't those like toxic though? Geez, who are you, the PC police? She smirked. I think she was trying to make a joke. Also, I think your vending machine yelled at me. Yup, it does that. Anyway. Welcome to Heidi's. How may I help you today? That only looked and sounded extremely forced. I saw the poster for crowbars. Can I get one? Ha 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 ha. It was an exceptionally fake laugh. I was a little worried I was being mocked. Sorry, kid. I sold out a few hours ago. Unlucky. I'd overstocked. Typed an extra 3 zeros into the supplier's site. Ended up with 2,000 of the things. I had to start selling them off dirt cheap, but then the supplier just brought them all back. Guess they want to resell them. Still, I made a good profit on it. Those suckers. She paused for a moment, doubt flashing across her face. She started counting on her fingers, her grin quickly turning into a frown. She recounted and then recounted again. Those fuckers! I made a 4,000 euro loss. Or pound. I don't know the symbols. Mr. Crowbar is fucking dead. She seemed to remember I was there. Anyway, you want a crowbar, right? What for? You don't look like the DIY type. No offense. It was a little offensive. Although admittedly very true. I need to break open a door. I realized that probably sounded pretty suspicious, so I tried to defuse the situation. I'm not a burglar, it's my door. A strange mix of resignation and confusion appeared on her face. You accidentally boarded up your own door? Yeah. I boarded my bedroom door up last night while I was super drunk. I was mega high from snorting mind-altering substances. It was lit. I have a lot of friends and we get drunk and do carpentry. I think I overdid it. Right. In fact, I think she had stopped caring. Heidi dashed through the door behind the counter and quickly reappeared with a crowbar. This is one of my personal crowbars and I need my others. So if you somehow break it, don't come begging for a replacement. I don't offer warranties. That's 15 euros or pounds. I rooted through my pockets and realized I'd forgotten my wallet. All I had was about 3 in coins and a Demon trading card, which was a little odd since I don't even collect those. I kind of forgot my money. You forgot you needed money to pay for things at shops. Yeah, I guess. Do you accept trading cards? She didn't look amused. She drummed her fingers on the counter for a moment. Okay, whatever. What if you owe me a favor? I hope this wasn't going to be a weird sex thing. It's not a weird sex thing. Don't make that face, pervert. I suddenly resented my naturally pervy face. I wasn't thinking that. What was it did you want? Nothing crazy. Just helping me sort some extra stock. Usually I'd have to do it myself, but 2 hands are better than 1, right? Of course, you'll have to sign an NDA. Or not. What do I care? I have a taser. It didn't sound very exciting, but I needed the crowbar, so I didn't have much choice. Okay, as long as it's just something small and legal. Haha! Another unconvincing laugh. I think it was supposed to sound friendly. Yeah, it's fine. It's small. It's legal. Did you just try to fake a reassuring laugh? Fuck off, it was real. Give me your number so I can get a hold of you. I gave her my number, hoping I wasn't about to end up crossing any borders with 5 kilos of counterfeit electronics hidden in my clothes, because I knew I'd be too awkward to say no to that. Great, I'll give you a call when I need you. I prefer it to texting. Easier to shout. And don't try to get away for free. I have a taser. Ha 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 ha. She put her hand out for a handshake. I guess she wanted to seal the deal. I limply shook it with my puny little arm. Sure. Thanks for the crowbar. I guess I'll see you soon. I left the shop armed with a crowbar, reflecting on how I seemed to operate entirely on a favor-based system these days. Oh well, I thought. It was cheap. I was pretty hungry, and as I walked through town, my eyes were drawn to a small shop called Greg's Bakery. The shop had a charmingly decorated exterior, albeit a little cutesy for my taste. I gazed at the food on display in the window, and I'm pretty sure I drooled on myself. It looked really good. I really needed some sugar. But you don't have any money. Okay. Trying to think of a voice. Hi, welcome to Greg's Bakery. I'm Greg, and this is my bakery. Greg has sharp fangs like a bat, which is nice, though obviously that isn't important. Oh hey, I'm here to eat cakes. Do you sell cakes? I don't know why I asked that. I knew they sold cakes. I'd just been drooling over their display. Oh sure we do. I make them all fresh every day. Did you do any catch your eye? If you decide you don't want a cake, I have plenty of other pastries and treats for you. A nice bun, a pizza slice, a donut, vegetable rolls, a bag of sprinkles. The choice is yours. They seem nice, albeit slightly hyperactive. I kind of suck at buying food, especially when there's so much choice, so I was glad to hear the door loudly open behind me and distract Greg. Hey, Belle! The usual? You betcha, hun. How's work going? Great, thanks! It's been a quiet day so far, but now I have 2 customers at once. Exciting, huh? What was it you wanted me to get you? They were looking at me, and I still hadn't decided what I wanted. I've been cut from another milk delivery route, Greg. Can you believe it? What? No way. Another one? How come? The distraction gave me a chance to pick something. My eyes scanned across the cakes, desperately trying to choose one. My old manager left a few weeks back, and the new one is, semi-competent. He noticed it was taking me the entire day to do the morning run, and that they were paying me to deliver to empty buildings. I was like, no way, my contract says I have to, but he read my contract, and it doesn't. The contract excuse had worked flawlessly for like 4 years, so I had no backup plan. So yep, I'm just delivering to North Acres since they refuse to let us deliver via drone, like we do everywhere else now. I'm almost obsolete. Good job those NIMBYs are keeping me in a job for a little longer. Oh no, North Acres? I've heard bad things about that place. They aren't too keen on outsiders. What a sucky situation. Aw heck, have your food on me. They placed Belle's order on the counter and canceled the payment. 2 large coffees and 4 vegetable sausage rolls. A pretty impressive lunch. Aw, you're too kind, hun. I'll make it up. Kind, hun. You're too kind, hun. I'll make it up to you. North Acres ain't so bad. I just ignore the locals and don't hang around. I think she must have noticed me staring at the cakes slack-jawed. Oops, sorry for pushing in, hun. I'm not used to there being other people here. It's pretty quiet most days. Oh no, I'm sorry I got distracted. What was it you wanted? I remember turning to look at them wide-eyed in fear. Cake. I wanted to try one of the iced cakes with the cherry on top. They looked really nice. Cake. I jabbed a finger meekly at a random cupcake. 1 triple chocolate muffin coming right up. This wasn't going to plan. They picked up the muffin with some tongs and slid it into a paper bag. Any other cakes, drinks, or savories? You don't have any money, girl. A cheese bake, maybe? I'll get another muffin, please. Great choice. Belle was looking at me, munching on one of her rolls. She seemed amused by my inability to buy cakes. I don't think I've seen you around town before. What's your name, hun? Oh, I'm Trixie. Trixie Glimmer Smith. I only moved here a few months back, and I don't get out much. Nice to meet you, Trixie. The name's Belle. She stepped forward with her arms outstretched, and I shook her hoof. It was really clunky and awkward, since she didn't have fingers. I hope this ain't too presumptuous, but if you're looking to make some friends here, you're always welcome to come down to the Attic Mouse, the bar just around the corner. It's always nice to make some new pals, you know, especially if you're new to the area. I sometimes go with Belle, but I've been too busy with the bakery recently. Everyone there is super nice. Very gay, too, so you can just be yourself. I guess we're lucky to live in the queerest town in the country. Okay. I mean, not officially, but sure, but heck, you try finding someone here who isn't queer. Does that mean Parsnip is too? Everyone is? Okay. They had a point. Everyone I'd met here was pretty fucking gay. Okay. Oh, thanks for the invite. I'm not too good with social stuff, though. That's fair. You're always welcome to come along, though, hun. Just thought it'd be nice to let you know there's somewhere you can go if you need it, you know? I realized it was getting late, and I still had to walk back to the cottage. Crap, I gotta go, sorry. I dropped some coins on the counter and ran out of the bakery. I hope I paid enough. I heard the pair say bye behind me. They both seemed kind of nice, albeit a little scary. Oh man. I had to take a short break to recover from gorging on about 5,000 calories of muffin, but I eventually reached the abandoned cottage at the end of Daffodil Lane. I managed to pry the front door open with the crowbar, which was tough given my complete lack of muscle mass. Regardless, I got the door open and tossed the crowbar away. My weak little arms couldn't carry it anymore. Without waiting around, I stepped through the dingy portal. I was immediately hit by a wall of stale air and decay. Ugh! This place is disgusting. I flicked my torch on and finally realized it had no batteries. Frustrated, I chucked it on the floor. Litter bug. I'd have to rely on my eyesight, which had rapidly been deteriorating since I started staying up till 5 a.m. using my laptop screen as my only light source. Not that it was great to begin with, given my condition. The building was dim, with a few shafts of light piercing the boarded windows. What looked like a basement door was slightly ajar. A cold and unpleasant stench seemed to crawl from it. I wanted to spend as little time in this place as possible. I decided to take a look around the ground floor before heading downstairs. I stepped into what seemed to be the kitchen. Water dripped from the wooden ceiling into the sink, which was close to overflowing. The water was dark and still. A few tufts of wood floated on the surface. Wool floated on the surface, stained a dirty brown. A gross smell seeped into the room from the pantry. I carefully pried it open and was relieved to not find any dead bodies. Instead, I found a small garden's worth of decomposing grass melting into a pool of green, frothy liquid. Decompositing? I don't think that's the right word. Oh, gross. What? Who would keep grass in their pantry? I poked around in the pantry, trying to uncover anything else that might be hidden. At the very back, buried under some of the decaying grass, I found a tin of pineapple rings. The best before date was over 2 decades ago. The front depicted a happy pineapple mascot. "Eat me," he said. "Sorry, happy pineapple abomination, but I don't think I should. Besides, I don't have a can opener." The bedroom was evidently plainly decorated years ago, but was now completely derelict. A bookshelf... Oh my god, my brain is melting. A bookshelf stood against one of the walls, but it was almost completely empty. The only books remaining were Manners for Girls and 7 Plants I Saw, an adventure story. I decided not to read them. Like the kitchen, the window here had been boarded up, though I noticed that the planks seemed to have been taken from the bed's frame, given that the mattress slumped onto the floor. A pile of tools on the floor looked like the likely culprits for the renovations to this place's windows. I noted one of the tools was a sturdy crowbar. Ugh, I went to all that trouble getting a crowbar when I could have just broken in here and got one for free. The tools looked old, but judging by their relative cleanliness, appeared to have been used recently. Next to the bed was a small dresser, and on top of that, a picture frame. I wiped the dust away from the photograph to reveal a woman, probably in her 40s. The photograph itself had that old-fashioned faded look to it, and her hair looked very 80s. I guess this lady must have lived here before abandoning the cottage. It doesn't look like she properly packed when she left, though, given that a load of her stuff seems to be here. I briefly wondered what had driven her to leave here so fast, but stopped myself from dwelling on it too hard. There was a loud groan from upstairs, the settling of the cottage's timber frame, I told myself. Regardless, it gave me a scare. Ugh, this place has me really on edge. Let's hurry this up. The bathroom window was broken, and one of the boards seemed to have fallen off. A black feather was snagged off one of the nails still left in the frame. The water tank that was probably meant to be above the toilet had fallen down, littering the floor with smashed ceramic shards and leaving a moldy damp patch spreading from the toilet's gutted remains. The bottom few inches of the bathtub were stained brown, as if it had been full of rancid water for some time before being emptied. The plug hole was matted with wool, almost like a spider web. Ugh, this is nasty. What's wrong with this place? No wonder it smells like... I was cut off as the house groaned, as if settling. Only then did I realize how weak the floor seemed to be in this room and stepped back. I had no intention of falling through whatever waited for me in the basement. I returned to the living room where I had first entered the house. I hadn't really looked around it when I first got here. It was totally trashed. The furniture was a mess. The floor was covered in junk, and some water appeared to drip down from the attic onto the sofa, which was coated in white mold. What looked like blood stained the floor and seeped into the musty sofa. It couldn't be more than a month or 2 old. Ugh, this is not good. Hopefully someone just had a minor accident, which made them lose about 4 liters of blood. It's old, though. I'm sure any murderer who lived here would have left ages ago. The smell probably drove him off. I stepped a little further into the room and almost tripped over something. A video game cartridge? It didn't look as dusty or decrepit as the rest of the house. It definitely wasn't old enough to be from the previous owners. Some brown hairs and white wool blocked the pins, and the image printed on the front was scratched but still readable. Gun Shoot 4. Nice. I really enjoyed Gun Shoot 3. Let's keep it. I figured it wasn't much use lying around in this cottage, so I decided to take it with me. Maybe I could wind down with it when I got back to my room. On the ceiling, a small trapdoor led to the attic, but there didn't seem to be any way up to it. I only now noticed the harsh carvings had been dug into the wall and inlaid with golden paint. Dozens of identical eyes had been watching me. I found myself drawn to them. The house suddenly shuddered and I almost collapsed. Ah! I regained my footing. Thankfully, the house had remained standing. I turned away from the drawings, deciding to avoid them for now. There didn't seem to be much more to see on the ground floor, and I still hadn't found that book. There was only one thing for it. I'd have to go into the dark, dingy basement. I forced the door open on its rusted hinges and made my way down the stone stairs. The decaying air grew worse with each step. This better not take long. The air in this place is probably cutting years off of my life. The stairs emerged into a large basement, almost as big as the entire ground floor. My eyes were immediately drawn to the horrific scene at the center of the room. Ah! What is this? Are those... Two skulls were positioned around the chipped remains of some kind of symbol etched into the floor. I better look around quickly. I really don't want to stay here much longer. After a closer examination, it was clear the skulls belonged to a pair of squirrels. Oh no, Squirrel Girl's parents. Oh gosh. So much for La Rosa's Pacific Cruise theory. These both seem adult-sized though, which means the girl is missing. Hopefully I don't find her here. The skulls were undamaged, with no indication of how their owners may have died. Strangely, I don't recall having seen any other bones around the cottage. I decided to leave them to their rest. Not that I'd been brave enough to do anything other than nervously stare at them from a distance anyway. With the most obvious thing in the room thoroughly examined, I took a look at the rest of the basement. This whole room looked like something from one of those trashy horror stories I'd read. It was uncanny. Part of me hoped this was just the setting of a really well-decorated LARP, but I felt pretty sure that was wishful thinking. LARP, if for anyone that doesn't know, is live-action roleplay. The basement was littered with black and white feathers. It looked like a bird had been in a fight, but with who? Probably the most out-of-place thing in this murder basement was the small collection of dry cake crumbs scattered across the floor. The cake that I gave! Despite there only being a slither of cake left, I felt my stomach tighten. A deep and primal part of me knew it was a bad cake. I took a closer look at the symbol. It was etched into the stone with some kind of tool and gilded with golden paint. It depicted one of the eyes I'd seen painted upstairs. It was no less unnerving here, especially given the rest of the room. I think it's time to get out of here. Okay, so I know so far it looks like I spent all week running errands and stuff, but trust me, I have my reasons, as I hope you will soon agree. This is where things get a little hard to recall, but I'll do my best in the interest of proving why I'm going to need a few weeks extra to finish my coursework. Thanks for reading this far, by the way. Faculty admin team, I appreciate it. Thanks! There was a loud screech, and the cottage above me started to shake and creak. I heard a long groan as the basement door shut. The cottage continued to shudder. I could hear furniture topple over and slam against walls again. Wait, what did it say? It slammed against walls above me. I need to get out of here. Before I could make a move, whips of golden mist curled around the two skulls. They jerked around to face me, before lifting off the ground as if pulled by puppet strings. No! The floating bones remained motionless in the air, their eye sockets boring deep into me. Stolen release beyond betrayal, cloud waves, Carcosa. The skulls called into my mind, a rasping voice that felt as if it was coming from my own thoughts. Upstairs, the cottage continued to shake, the sound drowning out even my breathing, but the voice remained clear. The rabbit betrayal, how blue starlight Carcosa. Carcosa, the dread city trapped forever under the red skies of the Hyades. The stolen crown jewel of a long-forgotten empire. The setting of The King in Yellow, that much I knew. If the play was anywhere, it would be here, but that was hardly at the forefront of my mind at this point. The spire-broken body, Carcosa. What are you? I am the abomination, the malformed stock, the accursed meat, filthy, unclean. Trapped, Carcosa, the ashen streets, the dying slumber beneath the lake, forever and yet free. Please, I didn't mean to disturb you. My friend made me come here. She wants to play the King in Yellow. At the mention of the King in Yellow, the skulls imploded with a loud crack. The eye sockets split. The craniums almost appeared to collapse into themselves. I stumbled backwards, almost falling as shards of bone and tooth rattled onto the stone floor. The cursed play, stolen the monochrome prophet, the broken royal, they had it stolen, a new owner, for the play found. Trapped, Carcosa, forever, and yet I walk again. We will meet again, small white rat. Oh, I am a mouse rat. The skulls dropped to the floor with a loud crash. The golden glow dissipated, and as the room fell silent, I could feel myself toppling towards the cold floor as my mind disconnected. My eyes slowly opened. A feeling of grogginess and nausea had taken over my body. I felt my mind spin. I could make out grass fluttering gently in the breeze. Ugh. I looked up. A sheep gazed down at me as she chewed on some grass. As I stirred, she wandered off and left me be. I took some time to properly come to, but I soon realized I was crumpled in the sheep field on Daffodil Lane. The moon cast white rays across me, and I wondered how long I had been there. Ugh. What happened? It was here I slowly started to remember my time in the cottage. The decaying rooms, the black and white feathers, the strange symbols, the blood, and the two skulls speaking into my mind fuzz. How much of that actually happened? My eyes slowly started to focus on the grass beside me. There was a box of some kind. Or was it? I squinted at it. Whatever it was wrapped in a shiny yellow skin. I reached a weak hand over to it and ran it across the top of my box. My suspicion was confirmed. It was snake skin. My hand curled around the back of the box and felt paper. It was a book. I grabbed it and pulled it above my eyes where I could see it. Embossed in black amongst the yellow scales was a title, The King in Yellow. I stared at the playbook. How had it gotten there? It was held shut by a golden ribbon, but it would only take a second to undo it. I started to reach for it, my fingers feeling the soft silk. Suddenly, a bird screeched a horrid caw. I jumped, almost dropping the book on my face. Far away, sat in the big jeweled tree, a strange, mangy-looking magpie stared at me. I thought of the feathers in the basement. It was hard to tell at this distance, but it seemed to be staring right at me, its wide eyes reflecting white moonlight like mirrors. I was about to shout over at it, but it took off and flapped away into the darkness of the night. I lay in the field a while longer and watched the woolly sheep munch on the grass. The King in Yellow held tightly against my chest. Eventually, I managed to pull myself up and started the long trek back to my room. I messaged Nikita and told her to meet me in the morning. She was still awake, presumably working on her campaign. She seemed pretty set on retrieving the King in Yellow right then, but when I told her I wasn't going to get back out of bed, she begrudgingly agreed to wait. I shoved the play into my bag and turned my phone off, eventually settling into a disturbed sleep. My dreams were dark and confused. I stood with Heidi in darkness. She stared ahead into the bleak emptiness. A hooded figure in a red cloak approached, their face hidden behind a white mask. They stood in front of us, before reaching for their face, pulling the mask away to reveal myself. They smiled at me before crumpling to the floor as if thrown by some invisible force, their body twisted and broken. Where my doppelganger stood was a new figure, also cloaked. Underneath its hood was the face of a creature I couldn't describe. It was shrouded in darkness, but exuded wrongness. The figure's eyes seemed to glow yellow as they started to grin cruelly. The light of their eyes quickly drowned out the darkness. The scene collapsed into itself, and I stood in the abandoned basement. I saw myself as a skeleton, a golden glow surrounding me as I turned to dust and cackled maniacally. The horrible, dirty bird looked down at me from the top of a withered tree with branches like tangled thorns. It opened its beak to caw at me, but no sound came out. The bird broke into wisps of clear vapor and disappeared into the dark night. I looked down, and in my hands was the King in Yellow. The bird's caw finally sounded, and I looked up. Where was once the tree was now a misty shoreline. In front of me was a spire of gleaming ivory, but before my eyes I saw it rot and decay. Behind the terrible city rose a great moon. Mist dripped from it as it emerged from a lake of cloud. The black stars of the Hyades hung above me, pinpricks of oil in the red sky. Watching me from across leagues of rolling white waves stood the solitary figure of the King in Yellow. He seemed to travel towards me, closer and closer as his tattered wrappings flapped in the wind. His long, bony arms stretched to remove the pallid mask, and I knew I had found myself on the path to a truly terrible fate. I woke up. Okay, so I'm gonna leave it here. We finished the day. This game is really scary, and I love it. I love horror, and I love cute little animals. So horror and cute little animals, love this game. There will be a part 2, because this is a cool game. And I love how it's tying into Parsnip. That is super cool. Thank you so much for playing with me. I'll see you later.